Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of the 100% Joy series. Just before we start, please hit the red button, the subscribe button, and let's know that we are on this journey together, co-creating the best version of our lives. Okay, so today I'm going to start off with a story, but I'm going to ask a question before I tell my story. What type of tree or what type of plant do you think you are? Okay, so let me give you a story. So every morning I walk out. So sometimes I go to the gym and then sometimes I feel like connecting with nature. So I walk, I take walks and there's a place in my estate where we have trees, like, a lot of beautiful tall trees and it's very shady. So I take a walk there. Sometimes I take a walk at 11 a.m. I mean, then the sun is out and all that, but it depends on, my mood and all that. But this morning was about 6:30 in the morning. I was taking a walk and I was doing my morning prayers and affirmations while I was walking. And I was asking God a few questions. And sometimes He speaks to me even when I'm not asking questions at that moment, but He just tells me the things that I need to hear. Because sometimes we're asking questions, but we're not aware or conscious of the fact that we're constantly asking questions about life or, trying to navigate our way through life. And He told me to look at the trees. I looked at the trees and He said, every tree has a purpose. Some of them are for food, they produce food. Some just give shade. Some protect, I looked at some of the houses and they had, like the pine trees and they were not creating shade and they were not bearing fruits, but they acted like a fence for the house, stopping people on the outside from seeing inside the house. And then some grow flowers, so they beautify. Some plants beautify. And when I heard that in my spirit, I was like, wow, just the way trees have different functions is the way human beings also are here for different reasons. Some of us feed others. And when I mean feed, I don't mean physically feed people food. We feed people's spirits. And there are different professions that do that. We have spiritual leaders, we have coaches, we have counselors, we have mentors, we have teachers, and these people feed other people, either knowledge or wisdom or, whatever it is. We have gurus. And then some people are meant to beautify. So we see a lot of them in the fashion industry, in the entertainment industry, in the beauty industry. Sometimes you look at a human being and you just see beauty. It might not just be physical beauty, but you just see and feel that energy of beauty. And some people actually give shade. It means that you protect, you give security, you give a sense of belonging, you give a sense of community, you give a sense of purpose to others, So every human being has a purpose, just like trees have purpose. And it was a profound revelation for me, but at the same time, I looked and I saw that there were plants growing out of the ground while I was on the pavement I was walking, and I had stepped on some of them. So I said, and I said, okay, but what about these plants? People have stepped on some of them. People have trampled some of them on the foot and all that. And it hit me that sometimes when you're not planted in the right place, you get trampled upon. I don't know how this comes across to you, but sometimes when you're not planted in the right place, you could be trampled upon. It made me understand that our purpose, our assignments in life are location specific. It means that sometimes you might know your purpose, your assignment, but you might be existing in the wrong environment or the wrong location. And once you're existing in the wrong location or functioning from the wrong place, you find out that you have all this figured out, but nothing is working, nothing is coming out of it. Instead, you feel taken advantage of, you feel trampled on, you feel used, you have all those negative feelings because you're being trampled on. Why? Because you're planted in the wrong place. And it went on, and I was looking at different plants, different things that were happening to the plants. I saw a tree that had some of its bark being taken off. Maybe somebody was peeling it off. I saw a plant that had one of its branches, broken off and all that. And it hit me again that even as human beings, we have challenges. We get, beaten and broken and battered and, hurt and all that. But we always come back from it. We always survive it, because you see that you come in a few months, you see the tree is either the bark is grown back or the branch is grown out back or something else has come, has replaced what was, missing and all that. And then in life, we also have seasons, just like trees. So for fruit-bearing trees, just like trees, we have seasons. So you have the seasons where the leaves are so green, everything is perfect, it is thriving. And then you have the seasons when the winter comes, or the dry season, like we have in my part of the world. And then the leaves wither and fall out, and the trees are not bearing, fruits anymore. It's the same thing with us. But one of the things you need to know is what keeps the tree surviving, even in that dry season or in the winter, is the fact that during the rainy season, the time when the tree was thriving, it had its root taking in as much nutrient as it could to store for, its dry or dry days, or its days of drought. So it's the same thing with us as human beings. We have the seasons where we thrive, where everything looks like it's blooming, everything is so perfect, life is beautiful, but we're going to have those seasons where we have challenges. We're going to pass through deep waters, we're going to pass through, struggles, we're going to have to go through a lot of ups and downs, tests to get us to the next level of our lives. Now, how do we survive that period? You survive it because when you were thriving, and you were blooming and everything was looking so beautiful, you also was at the same time learning, gaining wisdom, and digging your roots deep down, going inward, storing up nutrient, storing up wisdom, storing up knowledge, storing up experience for your season of drought. So just like trees have seasons, just like the world has 4 seasons, that's the way we as human beings have seasons of our lives. So don't get carried away with one and forget that there's always going to be other seasons of your life, and you must find a way to be able to handle those seasons as optimistically and as positively as you've handled, your seasons of plenty, your summers, your spring seasons. You have to be able to handle every other season the same way. One of the insights that blew me away, and I'm still, wrapping my head around it, was the fact that sometimes the purpose of the tree is to be a log, and then it's made into something else. So it becomes a house, it becomes a table, it becomes furniture, it becomes a box, but it always has something that it is used for. There's always something it's used for. When we come back, let's look at how the analogy of trees applies to our human life. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Just like trees, we all have different seasons, different purposes, different reasons why we walk the earth. And because we have these reasons or these purposes or these whys, we also have the location, the environment, the area where our whys will thrive, where our whys are needed. And it's important that you know, 1, why you're here, and 2, what you're meant to do, and 3, where you're meant to do it. It's important, because if you know why you're here and you don't know what you're meant to do and you don't know where you're meant to do it, you're still clueless. You're still back to square one. You're still, in a state of oblivion. If you don't know your why, but you know your where and your what, it still doesn't work. You need to know why you're here, what you're here for, and where you should be making a difference. It's important that you have all those W's figured out. Once you have this figured out, you begin to have perspective about the direction that your life is going. I talk about purpose a lot each time I give a talk or write a book. I don't think there's hardly any book I've written that I didn't have a chapter on purpose, because honestly, the reason why we have a lot of people committing suicides, people going through depression, people, turning to self-sabotaging or self-destructive behaviors is because of the lack of purpose. If you know why you're here, if you know what you're doing here, and if you're planted, plugged in, doing what you're meant to do, and if what you're meant to do is happening in the right place and you're making a difference, honestly, the last thing on your mind is ending your life or being unhappy or focusing on what is not working, because you have a sense of fulfillment. You have a sense of contentment, because that's what purpose does. Purpose gives you a reason to live. It's a reason you want to wake up every morning. So if you're someone who doesn't look forward to waking up in the morning, there was a time in my life that I felt that way. I didn't want to get up in the morning. I didn't look forward to the morning. I didn't want to die, but I didn't look forward to the morning. I was unmotivated. I was always lethargic. Nothing interests me, really. And that was because I was looking for something. I was looking for some meaning. I was looking for some meaning to me, to why I'm here, to what I'm doing here. And I know a lot of people out there are going through that phase in their lives right now, where you're looking for meaning. Why am I here? What am I doing here? What's life about? People get to the point of asking those questions. And sometimes when we can answer those questions, we escape into different things, stuff that now begin to sabotage in maybe our health or our lives and all that, because you're escaping from the reality of not knowing what you're doing here, being clueless, being purposeless. So it's one of the most important things that you should be looking at. Without purpose, there's no willingness or zeal to live life. And this was one of the things that I understood from the trees that morning when I was taking that walk. And it was a very wonderful reminder, because I already know how important it is to live purposefully. But I got, more insight into purpose, not just being knowing what your assignment is, but knowing what your assignment is, who that assignment is for, and where that assignment should be carried out. And once you figure all that out, you're well on your way to living a fulfilled life. When we come back, let's look at how you can discover what your purpose is. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Welcome back. So how do you know what your purpose in life is? How do you know what your why is? It's simple. Okay, maybe it's not that simple. Don't mind me. It might not be that simple, but it's simple. What is that thing you love to do, that even if you're not paid, you want to do it? What is that thing that people compliment you about so much? They always tell you you're good at it. They always, give you compliments about that thing. Or you always receive accolades for doing that thing. Or it comes so natural to you to do it. What is that thing that when you see others doing it, or when you have an opportunity to do it, it makes you so happy and excited? The joy you feel is different. It's different from anything else. I'll give you an example. Like I said, I'm a creative. I love everything that has to do with creativity. When I see dance, I am ecstatic. When I listen to music, I'm out of this world. When I get to sing, I am blown. When I have to write, when I can talk to someone, when I can listen to someone tell me about their problems and, talk them through it, or just give a hug and just know that I made somebody feel better, it makes me feel great. When I can give somebody a gift or meet someone's need, the happiness the person feels when I'm able to do that is so much, it gives me so much joy. Now, this is me figuring myself out. And I found out that a lot of people always give me compliments when they had to talk about me. Maybe if it was my birthday or I was at an event and someone had to say stuff about me. People always said the same things about me, which all bordered around what I love to do and who I saw myself becoming, or what I saw my purpose as. Think back to when you were a child. What was that thing that you loved doing? Each time you had an opportunity to do it, it made you so happy. What was that thing that you were so intrigued about? I'll tell you a story. When my son was about 5 or 6, when you ask him what he wanted to be when he grew up, I mean, you could ask him, and maybe he's with a bunch of friends, and then you ask all of them, and someone saying, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor. My son will say, I want to be Michael Jackson. When I have guests visit and they ask him what he wants to be, I want to be Michael Jackson. I got worried at some point because he just wanted to be Michael Jackson, but he was such a horrible dancer. My apologies. He was such a horrible dancer. He didn't know how to, although he's great now, he's an amazing dancer now, but he used to be a horrible dancer. He used to, dance funny. But he loved music, and then he grew a little bit when he became about 7 or 8. He would sing all the Disney tunes, and maybe a tunes I haven't heard. So I go like, oh my God, this tune is beautiful. And he sings it like he has the best voice in the world. But honestly, it's not sounding like the best voice in the world. But he has a way he does his face and, he sings. And then I go like, oh my God, that's an amazing song. Did you write it? He'll say, yes, I just composed it, And we used to go through, that when he was growing up. And then when he turned, I think 9 or 10, I was driving him to school one day and I said, and I don't know what we're talking about. And then he goes like, Mommy, what I want to do with my life, I don't need to go to school to do it. I lost it. I became ballistic. I was like, how can you say you must get an education? And I was, really, really going on and on. And he was like, Mommy, chill. He's always saying that, chill. I'm not saying I won't go to school. Of course I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get an education. But I'm just saying that what I want to do, I don't need an education to do it. Fast forward. Now he's 14. He's for a 6'3", a 6'3" 14-year-old. He plays basketball and he loves music and he's doing great at school. Now he's doing music. He does UK drill and trap, his own type of music, but he's amazing. In fact, he earned my respect when I took him to the studio and he started recording and I started hearing the kind of songs he was doing. He earned my respect and I see a future for him in both music and basketball. Now that's going to be up to him what he decides he wants to do. But that is my son, and he showed me how he was able to figure out what he wanted to do with his life right from when he was a child. And he has stuck with it up until today. And every single time you ask him, do you want to go visit a friend or do you want to go to the studio or do you want to... He wants to either go to the studio or play basketball. Okay, so my very social butterfly all of a sudden now just wants to focus on what is important to him. And there was a day he told me, he said, Mommy, I don't have to visit friends right now. There was a day I actually, had a talk with him in the car and I said, you really don't like visiting your friends anymore? I said, no, Mommy, it's not like I don't like visiting them, but the time will come when I can spend time visiting my friends. Right now, I need to build my future. And I was blown away. I mean, this was a 14-year-old telling me the plans he has for his life. So your why is always there. Sometimes we just get carried away, especially when we're now adults and we've started the rat race, trying to make sure we pay bills and, get by. We begin to forget. That's the problem. We begin to forget what's important to us. But you can take time out now to remember. Try to remember what it is that you love. Try to remember what it is that made you feel good, made you feel happy, made you feel warm and fuzzy inside. Try to remember what it is that each time you did it, it made you feel good with yourself. And put down some goals. Write down some actionable steps and start walking towards that direction. Once you connect with purpose, I am not saying it's going to be an easy ride. I can tell you categorically it's not. But one thing I can assure you that at the end of the day, when you look back, it's going to be worth it. Because 1, you would have touched so many lives. 2, you would have built a legacy. Let me leave this one thing with you. Every one of us has a portion of humanity that has been set aside for our influence. And that portion of humanity is waiting for us to find ourselves so they can find themselves. How long do you want to keep them waiting? Find your why and begin to live it. That's all from me today. See you next episode. Until then, live purposefully. Bye.